anxiety, off the charts levels of passion. That's just a nightmare. With you wherever you are, welcome to LFR. Hello, friends. Steve Dangle here. I'm in the SDPN studios. This is a special occasion because I need to be at the SDPN studios because I'm doing something that I'm not allowed to tell you what I'm doing. Except when this video is posted, it'll be roughly around the time that it's announced what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is a lot more fun than watching the Leafs lose 2-1 in overtime to the Detroit Red Wings, and the Red Sabres sweep the season series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I was downplaying it. I was downplaying this matchup between the Leafs and Red Wings. Like, there was discourse that the Leafs needed to beat them in regulation. And I'm like, a win is a win is a win. If you can get these guys to overtime, if you can get these guys to the shootout, pick up the win and don't whine about it. And then James Myrtle made the point that if the Red Wings were to win in regulation, they'd be 10 points up on the Leafs. If the Leafs won in regulation, they'd be within 6 of Detroit. Can you make up 10 in the 30 or so games remaining? Probably not. Can you make up 6? Maybe. And now it's 9 because of this. And no, you don't need to pass Detroit necessarily. There are plenty of teams between the Leafs and Detroit. But once you start crossing off teams on the list that you can no longer pass or are very unlikely to pass, the harder it is to envision you making the playoffs. Now, realistically, the Leafs are right in there. They're right in the mix. But after playing their best stretch of hockey of the season, undeniably, they are sagging and sagging hard. Let's go through it. Colorado. Hooray! Obviously, Colorado. Get caved in by Utah. That's okay. We give them that one. It's a mulligan. You beat Colorado. Then you lose to Vegas. Not only do you lose to Vegas, you sort of choke. You kind of choke. Forget about it. You had a nice comeback win against Winnipeg. You come home against Minnesota. It's a measuring stick game against one of the best teams in the league. Get waffle stomped. Absolutely waffle stomped. If you know what it is, you know what I mean. And if you don't know what it is, don't Google it. And then this game happens. I thought the Leafs looked incredible in the first. I did. They were incredible in the first, except for one shift, and we'll talk about that. I thought the Leafs were downright adequate in the second period. They wilted once they lost Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's arguably been their MVP on the back end. It's him or Jake McCabe, and Jake McCabe has not been good lately at all, actually. Third period, you get Le Stomp de-waffled. Overtime, I don't remember a team being outshot by 7 in 3-on-3 overtime. At the time I'm shooting this, it says the shots were 7-0. I don't know if it's changed. You know how the shots always changed. Overtime's 5 minutes! And when you lose, it's less than that! 7? And Craig Berube stuck with the same group of forwards because everything was going so well. No, Steve, back up. Things are looking good. Things are looking great. It's a great fourth line shift in the first period. Troy Stetcher doesn't get an assist on this one, but he keeps it alive. Steven Lorentz sets up Calle Jarnkrok for the beautiful one-timer, and he buries it. Kidding, he fans on it completely. But it actually passes completely fortuitously and excellently to Scott Laughton, who ends up burying it. Laughton pointing at his friends and teammates with a smile as if to indicate we all did that on purpose, and it's 1-0 Leafs. It was a really encouraging start. It was the Leafs being up at home on a really good team, responding to the performance that they had on Monday. Shots are going your way. Shot attempts are going your way. Scoring chances are going your way, and the goals are actually going your way. What's not to like? I'll show you what's not to like. This is an offensive zone faceoff with your captain and number one line on the ice with 30.8 seconds to go in the first. The cannon up in the back of your net. Obviously, I can't show you the footage, and screenshots don't quite do it justice, but they do all right. There's a scrum for the puck. The Detroit Red Wings come up with the puck. I'm going to show you a picture, and you tell me which team figured out that Detroit had the puck first. If you guess Detroit, you're right. Detroit is already skating full speed towards the Leaf zone. Matthews' legs are completely locked. And from this screenshot right here, 24.8 seconds to go, you're dead. You're dead. You're at the Red Wings' mercy. You no longer control what happens with the rest of the play. It's a 3-on-2 going the other way. I saw people talking about Jake McCabe on this play, and yeah, he has not played very well recently. This is the forwards. This is the forwards killing their D and their goalie here. By the time Matthews is able to get back in the play, Detroit is already playing with their food. They set up Simon Edvinsson, who has no one on him, because the Leafs did not pick up on the fact that Detroit had the puck and didn't put themselves in a position to succeed at all. They beat Joseph Woll. It's 1-1. Dying seconds of the first, and all the fans head to intermission mad, and so do you. Then second period comes around. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is not in the lineup. Listen, so many people, like I've pointed out many times this season, you can't complain about injuries. Everyone has them, especially this season. I've changed my mind. You can complain a little bit about injuries. It's not who you have to call up and insert into the lineup. It's not about getting someone from the Marlies or getting Philip Myers or whatever, Matt Benning, who we should probably remember exists. It's not about inserting those guys into the lineup. It's how many times, and I noticed this happen an amazing amount of times last season, how many times the Leafs will lose a player due to injury during the night in the first period. So you played great in the first, except for the final shift, which doesn't exactly get you off to a great start in the second. But you're 5D for the next 40 minutes after the Monday game when you looked exhausted. Obviously, there were no goals in the second period. Scott Lawton had a great opportunity on a penalty shot that he scored earlier. We're not going to hold it against you. That was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. He scored earlier. He's the only Leaf that doesn't get any grief for his lack of offense in this game. He's the only one who scored. But over the course of that 20 minutes in the second period, it just zaps you and zaps you and zaps you. Third period, you're a shell of yourselves. What did I say after the Vegas game, and what did I say after the Minnesota game? Joseph Woll's had an incredible season, but he hasn't been as good recently, and it'd be nice for him to mix in a save. I didn't mean for him to mix in 39 of them. Generally speaking, your goalie gives you 39 saves in a regular season game, and you lose, you stink. According to the official game report that I'm now looking at, the Red Wings outshot the Leafs 13-5 in the third period. Boo. Boo and also hiss. In overtime, it was 6-0. Boo. Boo and also hiss. Joseph Woll is the only reason that game makes it to overtime. That and earlier in the game when Brandon Carlo stopped that puck with his bum. That was very good when he stopped the puck with his bum. Speaking of your bum, Moritz Seider put Easton Cowan on his. So purely off the top of my head, and Craig Berube made this easy to do, 6 forwards played in overtime. 6. Matthews, Domi, Tavares, Nyes, Michelli, and on that final shift, Cowan. But for faceoffs, which they didn't win a ton of, by the way, it was just Matthews, Tavares, Matthews, Tavares, Matthews, Tavares, sometimes at the same time. Well, this was an overtime that went deep, and it was an overtime you stunk in the entire time, by the way. Name a chance. Name 2. Name 1 again. You still can't. You were getting outshot 5-0 before the goal happened, and I said to Adam live on stream, you can watch the clip back. Tavares and Matthews have been playing this whole overtime. You need another center out there. I don't think you put Tavares out here.
Right. I also love. Oh no, Easton! No! Larkin scores.
It's not about John Tavares winning or losing the draw. At the end of the day, the best players in the NHL are still going to lose like 45% of the draws. But at some point, you're gassed, man. Matthews was just out there. Okay, so put out, oh, it's Tavares again. You could have had Lawton. You could have, here's how desperate times are. You know me and my visceral hatred of Max Domi playing center. You could have had Domi at center. It's 3-on-3 overtime. It's not the same. What happens? Puck comes the other way. Cowan has it, but he's being tailed hard by Seider. Both other Leafs players are deep. Now, what I would love to see here is Cowan, who should be fresh as a daisy because he hasn't played in this overtime, use his speed to beat Seider. I know he scampered backwards and he doesn't want to go the full length of the ice. Do it! It's 3-on-3. They rag the puck all the time. Who cares how you beat the guy? Just beat the guy. Pass it to Wool. Pass it to Wool. Use your teammates. You could have done it. Instead, Moritz Seider places him on his bum. Cowan is then forced to watch the rest of the play from his bum. And while he sits there, he's thinking, this is probably going to end up as a goal. I really hope it doesn't end up as a goal. And I hope Steve doesn't magically remember that I took another offensive zone penalty early in the game. Oh, yeah, he did. Seider continues, sets up Larkin. That's the game. And Seider killed McCabe for no good reason after that, too. That was mean. There is so much to hate about the third period. There's so much to hate about that overtime. And there's so much to hate about the final play. And it is very valuable to get 1 point. But here's how I look at it. 1 point is obviously better than none. But if you lost every game in overtime, let's just say literally all 82 games, that's 82 points. You're not making the playoffs. You're finishing somewhere between 10 and 15 points out of the playoffs. So a point isn't adequate consolation prize, but it's not a strategy. It's definitely not a winning one. It's not one you could ride to the playoffs. There's increasing speculation or debate about whether or not you should sit Easton Cowan. Now, I definitely would love to see Jacob Quillen get into the lineup. I think he deserves it. He's been playing great on the Marlies. You called him up. He's a prospect. You play him if he's up. Alex Steves just signed a big contract extension with the Boston Bruins, by the way. He's been a contributor for them. Anyway, I'm sure that's not related. I'm sure I'm not feeling a certain way about that. I want Quillen to get in the lineup. I don't necessarily want it to be at Cowan's expense. It's maybe unfair because he finally got his first assist in forever. I'd sit Yarncroke. But more importantly, I'd switch up the lines. The top line, Matthews, McMahon, Domi, they had some great games. It's gotten a little stale. Tavares, Nyes, Michelli. Nyes is battling through an injury. I like Michelli up there. It's gotten a little stale. The third line, Waugh, Robertson, Cowan. It's been fine, except for when Cowan is putting his team down shorthanded. And the fourth line, I don't really have much to say about other than Yarncroke. And it definitely doesn't help that you are staring down the barrel of a potential 3-game losing streak on home ice, and it is Mitch Marner's return to the Leafs. Oh, Steve, shut up about Mitch Marner. You shut up about shutting up about Mitch Marner. This is the hottest ticket in the city right now. No Raptors ticket, no Leafs ticket, no nothing. This is the hottest sports ticket in the country right now. What's more expensive? Name one. You're being dramatic. Name one. Name one that's close. It's a big deal. It's weird to think it's not a big deal. He was a Leaf forever. He makes $12 million for a reason. He's on the Canadian Olympic team. It's his return game and you want people to shut up? No. You do this. You do this to check if you're a human being or a vampire. That's what you got to do. You got to find out if you have a pulse. This is a big game. And if you ripped every logo off of every Golden Knights jersey, you ripped every nameplate off the back, it would still be your life and death in the playoffs with 2 points on the line. If you can't get up for this thing, you don't deserve to be in this racket. Questions. Don't you think it's great how former fourth liners like Holmberg and Dewar or scratches like Steves are playing well for other teams in the conference while the Leafs held on to players that don't produce points? Okay, holding on to Calle Yarncroke, like I guess hindsight is 2020, pretty unjustifiable. Like I defended that guy as much as I could last season, pretty unjustifiable. I'll push back on Connor Dewar because he was a very good member of the Minnesota Wild. I liked when the Leafs traded for him. Then the Leafs played him for like dozens of games. And he didn't do anything with that opportunity. He didn't. Maybe they didn't put him in the greatest position to succeed. Find a way. Get one. Did he score one as a Leaf? I don't think he scored one. Holmberg is a fumble. That's a young player who, yeah, offensively limited, and what he's doing in Tampa is more than he showed he was capable of in Toronto. But he was a defensively responsible young forward who you had control over, because even though it sounded like he was asking for more than the Leafs wanted to pay him in free agency, it was restricted free agency. He was an RFA, and you let him walk to a divisional rival. With Steves, if you listen to the podcast enough, if you watched LFR enough, I like this guy. I like this guy for a number of years. He played, I think the number was 247 AHL games with the Leafs. This is after the Leafs scouted him, recruited him, signed him, played 247 games with the Leafs organization, with the Marlies, had 216 points. He was one of your top point getters. He was one of your top goal scorers. And when he played with the Leafs, the greatest opportunity you gave him was 7 games, barely any ice time. And no, he didn't do much with it, but he didn't get the same chance that Connor Dewar did. And I'm not saying he's blowing the doors off for the Boston Bruins. He's been like an adequate contributor for them. But this team, when it's all said and done, when we do the autopsy on this era, ideally after talking about, hey, they finally won the cup, probably not. The thing that's going to define them isn't necessarily the stars, although this is related to putting all your cap space into a few guys. It's absolutely hemorrhaging talent. People talk about Nazem Kadri leaving town. At least you got stuff for Kadri. Barry wasn't very good, but he was a guy. And Kerfoot, played a few hundred games as a Leaf. Again, it's not a great trade, but you got something. Jared McCann, you basically got nothing for Trevor Moore. Zach Hyman, James Van Riemsdyk, a bunch of years ago, James Van Riemsdyk. Mason Marchment, you got Dennis Mulligan. On and on and on the list goes. My biggest miscalculation with this Leafs team since I started doing LFR is when Kyle Dubas joined the Leafs as a guy who was perceived to be the smartest guy in the room. I was like, oh, it's like he's locking up the big stars to big money. And they're going to have to find all these efficient contracts. And they're going to have to do the best scouting in the league. But they're going to be able to fill out the rest of the roster with really good diamonds in the rough. And what that proved to be was a fiasco. It was exhausting. It made it difficult for the team to build a culture. It made it difficult to build camaraderie. And even when you found one, like a Michael Bunting, who could give you 60 points for $900,000 or whatever it was, you knew you were on borrowed time. And now you have one fewer star. Oh, and Nylander's hurt. Oh, and Nyes is playing hurt. Oh, and you have endless injuries on the D-core. Oh, and you've lost your starting goaltender, because remember, that's what Anthony Stolarz is. I know this might seem too deep of a conversation for Alex fricking Steves, but it's the principle of hemorrhaging talent, which this team can straight up no longer afford to do. So, how do do you think Friday's going to go? Leafs win, Leafs lose. Warm and fuzzies. Lots of cheering. I bet it's lots of cheering. Let me know in the comments down below. My friends, for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Keep an eye on my social media. There's stuff. There's fun stuff.